We're talking everything from Silo Season 3, Episode 3. We're going to give you our breakdown and discussion, plus everything you can expect in the upcoming episodes. All that and more on all new episode of Unbinged, starting now. Welcome into Unbinged, podcast for the shows, movies, and news you love to binge. I'm Alfredo Brown, and today it's just me and Dr. Vignesh Doraiswamy. I threw the doctor in there, dude. Did you feel weird hearing that
Completely.
on the pod?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with my ability to talk about Silo.
But he's a doctor. He's really, really smart. And we're going to talk about everything from this latest episode of Silo. But first, Doctor, the spoiler warning.
I can't believe I'm having to do this, but it is 2026. If you clicked on this video or found this episode, beware. We will talk about the episode. It will spoil things, so don't watch it till you're done with the episode, but then come back and watch, because we will spoil the crap out of it for you.
It's nuts because it's in the title and it's going to say discussion and breakdown and all the things that come with that. But hey, you're here. And you know what? If you're not ready to listen to this, just mute it, let the video run all the way through, because that's how the algorithm works. We're all pro algorithm here at Unbinged and in Silo. Vig, we got to talk about this show, man. I was telling you before we started recording, I'm struggling with this show a little bit. I loved season 1. I enjoyed most of season 2. It had its ups and downs. And season 3, I was giving it the benefit of the doubt after the first episode. I was not here for the second episode to record with Jag and Koff and Caroline. You and I were off. We're back here now. How are you feeling after this third episode? Because I think the season, and maybe more importantly, the show, is falling victim to the most cardinal sin you can be on TV. And that's boring. And I'm getting a little nervous as a fan of the story and the show and everything we've seen so far.
Yeah, and I think this holds true for both people who kind of know what's to come, right? So book readers like me, we kind of know how things go. We know how it ends. And for us, the allure of the show is, how are you going to get me there? Or are you going to be nice and bring in twists and things that I'm not going to expect? You've already brought in new characters, but are you going to give me a different ending or get to the same ending in a different way? So that's the premise with which you get the book readers. For the non-book folks, what did they love about season 1? It was really sort of the thing you loved in a Severance, or shows where you can think about theories and go on discussion boards and talk to people, like what Lost used to do. That's why you liked Silo, except you're right. They are kind of getting boring, and I think it's because they really want to set themselves up for this 4th season, right? I think they're struggling with jumping back and forth. We have our past timeline, our future timeline, and they're bringing in new characters or bringing in more information about existing characters that we kind of thought were just side characters. And I think there's just a lot of stuff happening, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere quite yet. At least that's how I'm feeling. Is that what you mean when you say it's boring? It's just,
yeah,
it's a lot of stuff.
I think that this show has a unique problem that not all shows have, which is this story has already been written. So people who know it know how it ends. And that's the other thing, is a lot of times, maybe the showrunners have an idea of how they want the show to end, but they're kind of getting there as they go. Whereas this one, it's they know how they want it to end. They're just trying to figure out how to get there. And with season 4 being allegedly the final season, this very much just feels like we're going to get 8 episodes of setup. And I mean, dude, 8 hours of setup and jarring flashbacks, which I actually, once again, I don't actually mind the flashbacks. I think the flashback story is actually kind of cool and I want more of it. And that was the thing that made me have to go back and say, oh no, is it getting boring? Because I care more about the flashback right now than I do about Juliet or what's happening in the Silo. And when I don't care as much about what's happening in the Silo or with my main character and my top build actress, I start to get a little bit nervous, but I'm still very intrigued. I want to ask this question then, as someone, you've read the book, you're watching the show, are we just getting too impatient? Because that's not typically me watching the show, but I can feel the struggle slogging through it episode by episode right now.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I think that we are in an era of sort of getting things when we want, seeing things when we want. You can look things up at a moment's notice.
Are you saying I'm an iPad kid? That's You're just going to
We
call me an
are.
iPad?
We didn't have iPads when we were kids. I don't even have a cell phone when I was a kid. But like, we are taking on some of those traits of the iPad kid generation. And it's not just me, right? There's like 40, 50, 60-year-olds complaining about this show online, saying the same things. They're like, this is so slow. I really just want to figure out what's happening. Why are you making 4 seasons of a show from 3 books? Like, I get it. But at the same time, I think you brought up something really important here, which is the show is called Silo, and we really want to care about what's happening in the silo. That's what we spent so much time doing. The books suffer from this too, if you want to call it suffering.
Okay.
Where, there's a book that's really very little Jules. Shift. It's a lot. I mean, I'm not saying she's not there, but it's what we're seeing. It's a lot of the flashbacks. What I will say I like, though, is I think they do a good job here, and I'm curious to see what you think about not just being tropey for being tropey's sake, if that makes sense. Like, memory and amnesia certainly is a trope. Flashbacks can be used just for exposition.
Right.
I do think they are crafting a good story. The fact that flashbacks aren't as annoying to us as they typically would be, because I think they're just used too much. I actually think the flashbacks are doing a good job here. They're giving me more questions while simultaneously giving me answers. That is what's sort of bringing me back, not just because I really want to see how this goes. I will be the first to stop watching a show if I just can't take it anymore. It's not that bad. I don't want people hearing this to be like, this is terrible. The pace has just slowed down from what was a really thrilling and exciting show in the first couple of seasons.
Yeah, I'm going to slow down the pace really quickly right here just to let everybody know that you can enjoy our show Unbinged, whether here on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you want to watch or listen, you can enjoy us. If you are watching on YouTube, take a sec to leave a comment, hype this video, like this video, and if you're listening over on Apple or Spotify, take a minute to leave a 5-star review. Those reviews mean the world to us. If you want to throw in some words in there, words are cool. We love words. If you just want to leave stars, that's great as well. Please, it means a lot to us as independent content creators. So continue to help us out. Every Monday, we're going to have House of the Dragon Season 3. Every Thursday night, we've got Silo Season 3. And guys, we're going to be back again for the finale of X-Men 97. That's going to be a big one. So please make sure you're sticking around with us, because we're also going to be here for Lanterns and Ted Lasso and so many other great shows that are coming our way here as we get closer and closer to fall. Now, Vig, I think with this, you kind of run into a risk. And I know you said like there's times where the books get boring or the books maybe slow down a little bit and then they kind of pick back up, right? I was curious about this choice for the showrunners, because that's really hard to do. I think you can take this risk when you get into season 3 of a TV show where you say, okay, we can make people wait a little bit longer. We can let it slow down a bit. But that does become such a risk by the showrunners to slow down the narrative and to get people almost frustrated. And after the first episode, I was saying, okay, this is the point, is for people to feel frustrated. There's memory loss from all ends, and there's questions from all ends. And it's kind of like, well, now the memory loss thing seems kind of fucked up. We're 3 episodes in. We're taking forever to get there. I don't want to go half the season waiting for Jules to get her memory back, or it happens towards the end of the season and it all just becomes this big setup thing. I think that's a huge risk to have fans become this probably just disenchanted with the show as it continues on.
Yeah, I like the word disenchanted here, because I think that's what they run the risk of. Jules doesn't seem to really change too much in the last 3 episodes, right? It's just more and more of her memory frustrations and things related to that. Sure, there's some growth. There's she's going to stop taking the pills. She's doing things. She's being more reckless. They talk about, even though you don't have your memory, you're clearly very still you, and they're doing all these things. But I think you do run the risk of disenchanting your audience when you take a risk like this. Here's what I think I worry about these days with TV shows is people really want to drum up that engagement. They want the subreddits to go crazy. They want people to make YouTube videos talking about theories. Like Severance has done such a good job with this, right? Where like after every episode, the internet erupts in talking about what's going on. But that's the line. I think it's a very fine line you don't want to cross. You want to keep people engaged, but you don't get to the point where we're starting to have the conversations we are, which is it kind of getting a little boring? And it is a risk, and I think that they've bought themselves the grace to take that risk, because I think they did a really good job and they handled the source material with care. They added just enough new stuff to probably annoy some book readers, but also get others to be like, where are you going with this? I'm intrigued, but you just can't keep doing this. I think they gotta move things along, whether it's giving us answers or connecting a little bit more dots or something. But I just don't know that I can do it, because I will, but I don't know that they're gonna keep the fandom if they keep doing this.
I think that's the struggle, man. And like, I wanted to ask you about it because I can't think of any. I can't remember a show where it either got boring or disenchanted the fans, and then the fans stuck around or came back. Like, I even think to maybe Lost is one of the only ones that people stuck through, but then I look back to like Walking Dead when people got, I'm going to keep using the word, disenchanted after the, spoiler alert, Glenn death. And just, there are times where shows lose people, and I'm wondering how far as writers you can stretch this. I hope it's not that much longer. It feels like maybe next episode we're going to be getting more, but I feel like we've been saying that for the last few episodes here.
Yeah, and you know what I wonder is, writers write things all at once, right? They kind of know how things are going. Would this feel as bad if they were released all at once and I can binge them? I don't think it would. I think waiting a whole week to move the story along by what feels like a tiny, minuscule amount, I think that's where the struggle is. And again, to folks listening in, I don't think they're only like moving it like inch by inch. There's a lot of stuff happening, and maybe that's where they're losing some of the fans a little bit. There's so much happening.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say,
I'm waiting
dense.
A whole week.
It's dense, but at the same time feels it's dense but slow, and a lot of things happen, but it feels like they all happen at such a pace that you almost I watched it twice and I wrote down notes, and I almost forgot half of the things that happened within the episode because there's so much.
And I think that's what the struggle really is because if you're going to be really dense and you're going to have a lot of stuff, it needs to be something you can hold on to, something exciting. The fact that you had to watch it a second time and still not keep track means that a lot's happening, but they're not doing a good job maybe showcasing that or maybe making it very memorable. I felt the same. I only watched it once. I just watched the screener today, and I'm already thinking about, wait, what happened? Did I capture all of that? And for
the
shows
commenters are going to shit on us so hard.
Big, yeah. Well, probably, but for a show where mystery and intrigue is so important, those little details matter, right? That's where someone's going to notice something that we didn't talk about. They'll be like, hey, you didn't see this like thing in the, I don't know, was he carrying like a Walkman sort of thing? Whatever. He was like, oh, you didn't notice the color of this. That means that, yeah, it was like, there's going to be stuff like that, but then you got to like keep people's attention so that they capture those sort of things. Not going to lie, I'm usually not a look at my phone when I'm watching something sort of thing. Every now and then I'll like start looking at my phone. Which is very
you're a freeze the screen type of guy. Take a picture of it with my phone, send it to the group chat, circle things, look it up, find it on Wikipedia, and tell everyone what this foreign language means. That's who you are.
That is correct. That is typically who I
am. You're doing it for like, I don't know. You're doing it for like Daredevil. Like, you're not even doing it for the tough shows either. You're just like, guys, this number here means issue number 43. Page 16.
I'll tell you, man. It was like the Peter Gabriel song, right? From the end of the first episode.
Yes.
I think that was a weird choice, but it was so jarring. It was such a good choice. It made everyone pause. I'm like, wait, I know this song. Where do I know this song from? I just didn't get any of that this episode. Was there anything that made you pause for a second and be like, wait, I want to screen grab this, or I want to pause and look something up to see, is there like some hidden meaning? I don't know that there was.
I think there was a few things that like they showed. So there was one thing, and I'll go back to this. It's with Daniel and Helen, and when they're going to check out this dark web guy, and he talks to them about how all of the soldiers were downgraded to comms that were discontinued years ago. That was the thing where I go, this is the most intriguing thing I think that happened in the entire episode, because this is forcing me to have questions. It's forcing me to say, okay, and why did they do that? And then what happened? And we didn't get that. And you immediately get this you're kind of just getting edged the whole time, where you're going from that storyline back to inside the silo. And it's just that gets to be very unfun. Like, I'd almost rather them do those flashbacks for a little bit longer. Or you know what? Did you see Project Hail Mary, Vig?
No. I did not. We should talk about this.
You read the book,
a different issue altogether, but I did.
Okay, but so like, you remember how it goes in the book, right? And I'll avoid any spoilers for people who haven't seen it or read the book, but it's like they do these flashbacks within the story of Project Hail Mary where it actually pertains to what is happening in the scene with the main character when he's having the flashback. And right now we're getting these flashbacks to what it was like before the silo, and potentially how the silo got created, why it got created, all these different things. And it doesn't feel like there's a connective tissue that makes me go, oh, okay, question, answer, story, keep pulling at that thread. Right now, I feel like Charlie and Always Sunny, where I got the red string and corkboard, and it just says Pepe Silvio there, and I got no fucking idea what I'm even looking at. And yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know if you feel the same way, but that was the one thing looking back where he talks about everyone's comms got downgraded to something that was discontinued. This makes me say, okay, someone higher up knows what this thing was that attacked the pilots, and they were sent in there as probably some sort of a test or something, at least, if we're going to throw theories out there. I know you already know what it was.
Yeah, and that's a really good thought. But I agree with you in that I think they get us so close, right? And then they switch to the other timeline, right? You give me all this stuff about the dark web, switch to a timeline. Then they go back to the dark web's guy. Clearly, they've like ransacked everything, and now we switch back to a new timeline. Or we're going back and forth, which I think is nice. It sets up some intrigue. It definitely keeps some mystery going. And there are some parallels. I think maybe I didn't feel as strongly that the flashbacks weren't connected. I see, the parallels of old technology in the silo, because the silo clearly has high, modern technology. But that's not what everyone gets to see.
What connected
Only
for you?
Camille sees that. And then what was that, sorry?
What connected for you when you have your flashback to your current state in the silo? What was something from one of those that like, oh, okay, ever something clicked as you were watching that? Because it may have just been me who missed it, but I didn't feel like it.
No, I think the obvious one is the memory stuff, right? The obvious parallels of, they are intentionally suppressing Charlotte's memory. They're intentionally suppressing memory of everyone in the silo. The technology being, the silo has access to very modern technology, but the people don't get to see that. They get the stuff that looks like it's, from the 1960s. In the past timeline, we have everything that we have in modern day, but they chose to go back to like old technology. So I'm wondering, is the silo generally using old technology? Because that old technology is exempt or escapes from whatever it can damage, but not quite, right? Like that's where I was thinking it was going, but then clearly the planes that had all this old technology still got, sort of melted away. So they're giving me breadcrumbs, I think, right? And I think breadcrumbs, when done well, are really fun. They can keep people engaged. They can have us have really great conversations. I wonder if the breadcrumbs are maybe getting a little stale here, if that's reasonable to say.
Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yeah, I think you can do the breadcrumb thing, but I think you have to reward your audience with each episode. What was the reward on this episode? Was it, and I hate to say this, I think they wanted the reward to be Lucas Kyle. And then when he showed up, I was just like, oh, hey, it's Lucas Kyle. And that was kind of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the reward is Lucas Kyle. I think the other reward they really tease is, and here's my question to you, and we don't really know, book readers don't, right, like with Camille, but Camille walks out basically telling the AI, I'm going to end Jules. But earlier, she has this whole conversation with Common about like needing to create, like, or at least he has this conversation about memories, what makes us who we are. Like he says, Jules doesn't even remember. It did, yeah, because it came from Common, which is a different issue entirely. But so what do you think? Do you think Camille's actually going to end Jules, or is she going to try to trick the AI? Because she knows where cameras are. She knows how it works. She's been privy to all this stuff. And there's this whole conversation. She can see the disappointment in Common's face when he talks about, oh, so you're just going to do what you've been doing to Jules, but do it to all of us and very slowly.
I don't know what she means by it. I think she's probably doing a thing that we see. I don't want to say trope, but a thing that we see in books and movies where you have the lie detector test and you can say the thing that's close to the truth, where you yourself are not actually lying and you mean what you're saying, because the AI is able to pick up on everything. When it's talking about the cortisol in her breath, I was like, oh, bitch, I'm stressed all the time. Do I smell like that? Like, what? And it made me have to like double take. So, okay, I you know what? I'll take it back. There was a few things from this episode that did have me ask a further question here. The Camille character, and I think that's where you talk about how like some side characters have become big and then some bigger characters have become side characters. And I think that's where I think the transition is so tough with this season, right? Is because you've got the flashbacks with two new characters. You've got Camille kind of taking center stage with an AI, which is also very hard for now an AI voice to essentially be a main character in the story now. And then your main character that you've had is now like sixth man off the bench essentially for your starting lineup of storylines. And so it just that's where it gets a little weird. But the Camille thing, Vig, do you feel like the relationship with her in common is making sense for viewers? Because that weird little we've got to make memories together thing, I don't know if it was just common or if it was the way the conversation was done or the timing of it. It almost took me out of the episode. I was like, wait, what are we talking? What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just how it was written. I think in theory it makes sense that, he hears Jules talk about not even like knowing the feeling or sense of her dad after this big sacrifice, and he's like, oh my gosh, what have I done my whole life? Like, I've done all this stuff, I've been gone, like my kid, does he even know that I'm his dad? What feelings have? And so with that, he goes to Camille and he does all this stuff. I think I understand the intent. I understand where they wanted to go. It felt quick and shallow and sort of out of place, right? Kind of just like
you gotta let it bake a little
to
more
move the plot along. Correct. That's what you needed. Because here's my guess. My guess is that they put a lot of breadcrumbs there. AI tells Camille, "I didn't choose you for reasons you thought." She was proud, right? She probably thinks,
you're a good liar.
Like I'm a crisis person. I'm a good leader. And then the AI tells her, you're a good liar. And so she's like flipping that back on the AI, and she's lying to the AI. But like you said, with enough of truth for the cortisol to be there. But for her to all of a sudden turn on the AI just doesn't make sense. So they needed that common story there. They needed that little common coming in, talking about how he's feeling and the memory stuff to give her a reason. Because take that out, for example. Take the whole common thing out. Does her like doing everything, whatever the AI says, doing all this stuff and, being able to do for the greater good, and then all of a sudden deciding to turn on the AI and save Jules, which I don't know that's what she's going to do, but let's just assume that's where we're going. I don't think that's good writing. I don't think you sell it very well. So you needed the common thing, but it just felt rushed. You're right. It needs to bake a little bit more.
This right now, it sort of feels like, so my grandma used to pick me up from school when I was a kid sometimes if my mom was working late. And I remember that I would tell my mom later on, as I get car sick when Grandma Gladys is driving, because she will accelerate and hit the brake and accelerate and hit the brake and back and forth and back. And that's what it kind of feels like the show is doing, where you'll have that conversation in that moment that's supposed to be a little more emotional and it's supposed to have some gravitas, and it doesn't, because it didn't bake long enough, so to speak, here. And you just kind of hit the gas pedal, but then you brake and you go right back into, oh, by the way, here's a flashback of something different. And I think that's it. We're almost as a viewer, if you're not used to it, you can get a little nauseous watching it. I don't mean that literally, but I just mean that in that it'll become a little overwhelming at points, where that's why when I have this moment where it's supposed to be like, oh, look at him, he's being a dad, he's trying to have a family, it actually took me out and had the inverse effect of what it was probably supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what makes pacing so important, right? This could have maybe been a thread that they introduced last episode a little bit to let it bake a bit more and then bring it again now. There was a little bit, I think, like the first episode where they talk about, you put a gun to my wife and my kid, and like, but then there's like no comment in episode 2, if I'm not mistaken, like zero comment. And then now Sims is back in episode 3 for this little thing. So I hear you. I think there's like minor little qualms. I'm not going to write off the show because of that. No. It is very hard to put all this in. I think it's still a very good show, very fun show. I'm still very excited about it. I know we're going to get destroyed in the comments because we've been very negative, but
I mean, I'm looking around online.
We're critiquing a show that we have great expectations. Yeah.
I'm looking around online and like so I think a lot of the people that are either complaining or talking about it on Reddit are saying a lot of the same things that we are, is that, one, we got to be more patient, which I agree. And I'm willing to be patient, but that's the thing that we can do whilst being patient, is we can talk and we can ask ourselves, are we not being patient enough? What are the things that we don't like right now that we're saying, let's be more patient? I don't think that we can just excuse TV shows for poor writing, poor pacing, or things that that are generally unattractive to us for the sake of saying, be patient, right? Like we should be allowed to talk about these things and have these emotions, because that's what the shows are supposed to do. It's supposed to give us these emotions as the episodes go on. So I'm okay with it. Guys, let us know in the comments, man. If you disagree with us, or you think we're being too short-sighted, or you're saying, you know what, you guys aren't going hard enough, let us know. Let us know in the comments, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatever. Let us know there. Vig, we talked a little bit here about a bunch of different characters. The one character we haven't talked much about is Juliet. And the description of this episode is that Juliet takes matters into her own hands and really is like getting, I don't have the exact wording in front of me, but it's essentially like she's taking over her memory now and trying to, you know, take matters back into her own hands. She feels as frustrated as we are as audience members. And that's something where I say, I feel that and I get that and I like that. And I almost want to say, okay, feed me more of that. Give me more of that character who is taking action, who is angry, who is frustrated. And then even just seeing the experience of her, and I always forget the name, but the character who was her best friend down in engineering.
Shirley,
yeah.
Was it Shirley? Am I making that up? Yeah, Shirley.
I think so, yeah. And you know, like Shirley's like mad at Jules for having amnesia. And it's wild, but it actually made me have these existential and moral questions where I go, damn, she doesn't even remember that she has a dad. She doesn't remember what it's like to have a dad. She doesn't remember what it's like to have friends. She doesn't remember basic human emotions, which is just crazy. It very much is a hard reset on a person, this memory loss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's doing such a good job, I think, acting that out. I'm almost a little frustrated. I'm like, dude, how are you so clueless? But that's the whole point, right? She's just like, even her emotions, right? She's just confident. She exudes confidence in that first season. She's a completely different character now, right? Like she's doing such a good job acting like puzzled and confused. And that frustration you talk about, I think, is one of the highlights of this show, is that Rebecca Ferguson is doing such a good job having us feel as frustrated as she is. You talked about, we could feel that and sense that. So I agree. Lean into that a bit more. Give me more of her. And not just because she was like the main character who's now like relegated to sixth man off the bench, like you said, but give us more of that. Lean into that a little bit more, but progress the story too. And I think they did do that, right? Like you said, the whole point of this episode is probably that, you know, Lucas Kyle is alive. And this is how they had to bring it out. And it had to be Jules who did it, by being very Julesy, right? It is very on brand for Jules to sacrifice herself for the greater good. They hinted to that in this episode too, right? The season 1 generator fix, where she almost drowns to save people. They bring it back up and they say, this is who you are, this is what you do. And then a little bit later, you see her run in to try to save people and give them her mask. Like, I like that. I like that you talked about like moral quandaries or existentialism. I sort of like the idea that even if you lose all your memories, maybe there's a part of you that's always sort of you intrinsically, like your character, your nature,
conscience, your
and that is
soul,
more,
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that is more than your memories. Like if you're kind of an asshole and you lose all your memories, you kind of remain an asshole.
Still an asshole.
And you sort of see that here, right? You see that with her, right? So I do like that, because there's greater themes we could talk about. Like, what does it mean to be a person? Are you the memories or are you the person? What is the soul? Like, all that stuff is there. There's also the whole point, I think, of the show is, you know, social control through memory control. And we're seeing it across multiple timelines. So I do like that too. I don't want to like just harp on the stuff that was frustrating, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're so frustrated with this show because it has shown us how good it can be.
Right.
They've done excellent pacing. They've done excellent drama. They've done excellent writing where you have little breadcrumbs that have excellent payoff. It just doesn't feel as strong in the opening arc of this third season. So I want to see how they resolve that, because I believe in the producers. I believe in Graham Yost and the writers. They've done such a good job. But I feel like maybe they have their own memory issues and have lost their way a little bit.
It feels a little bit like watching your favorite player in whatever sport just get a little older, and you get to that season where you go, oh, they might not be the same that they used to be. So what we'll see as this keeps going on, I still think it can be there. Maybe we're just having a rocky start to this. I do want to ask, what is it that you are most looking forward to going forward in this? Is it the Camille and algorithm storyline? Is it the flashbacks? Is it more Jules? Is it potentially even a character we haven't even talked about yet?
Like Orla Kent being dead, probably. I think that was the other little
Missing,
thing they
and
just
like
casually threw
her
in there.
husband's just like not really even trying that hard to look for her.
The boyfriend guy.
Yeah, boyfriend. Yeah.
Orla Kent? Yeah, I don't know. But she's dead, right? Didn't they show her at the very end? That's, again, there were so many little details they quickly went through, but like she's looking dead. She was the unidentified body they brought out of the mines, and we don't know why and what's happening. So there's just so much happening that actually what I'd like to see from the show is maybe let's tidy it up a little bit. You know, we have have we talked about Billings at all today? Like the whole Billings Orla Kent thing was like a little sideshow. There's too many sideshows. I like Sheriff Billings. I love the actor. I like what he's doing. There was this whole like plot line with him and his wife and her wrist and her being one of the outsiders. Like, man, there's a lot of threads, and we've seen shows have lots of threads. Like Game of Thrones had a lot of threads. I'm not saying a lot of threads is a bad thing, but you got to bring them together at some point. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I really want them to connect some of these threads together so it doesn't look like a bunch of disparate shows in the same universe. I don't mind a bunch of disparate stories in the same universe. I know they're all connected, but you can't keep them unraveled for a really, really long time. We need to put it together.
Yeah. And I wonder if they're giving us all of this. See, now I'm trying so hard not to go into like the theory side of things, right? Because oftentimes like just one episode can take that all away. But I almost wonder if they're giving you all of this like nonsense so that I got a feeling by the end of this season, everyone's getting hit with the vitamin D plus, and it's going to affect everyone but like one or two people. And that's probably what we're looking at. Yeah. I know you're giving me your best poker face right here, but it feels like that is where we're going. And throughout these flashbacks, we're going to find out how that can be resolved. Don't say nothing if I'm right. Okay.
Nothing.
Nope. Either way it works.
I know, right? Either way it works. It's so good. So we'll see, man. But, you know, I still think the other stuff that I really love is that this is still a beautifully, beautifully made and dressed show, right? The aesthetics, the music, the score, it is still so well done. The production is out of this world. I still think it is. Apple TV is showing that they like make excellent, excellent shows, and that stuff is all really great. And I think that helps keep you engrossed and like lost in what's happening too. But man, I just need them to like move this along a little bit more so that we kind of see what's going on. I don't think it's the right formula to open up more questions than answers. There's got to be a balance between questions and answers. And new questions are nice. Keeps viewers engaged and enthralled even, but you risk losing them. So like, what is Lucas Kyle doing, right?
Bro,
like,
I don't.
The whole conversation about his horizontal digging. Is he trying to go to another silo? Is he trying to connect to them to like create more rebellion, or what is he doing?
Okay, that's what you and I talked about.
More questions, just lots of questions. Yeah, lots of questions.
It's lots of questions, and I'm cool with questions as long as they lead to, and then this happens, right? And then this is the wrinkle in the story. And I think and hope that within the next episode, we find out what Lucas Kyle has been doing and what his plan is, right? Because this is also a smart guy. He's got he has an understanding of what he's doing and where he's going. He's not just like guessing at all. Maybe he's guessing at some of it, but the idea of, okay, I'm trying to get to another silo to reach other people for XYZ reason, or where my brain keeps going back to is treating the silos like this is a nervous system or a body, right? It's a body of silos, and there's one central nervous system in the middle that runs the AI, whether it's a group of people or a machine or whatever it is, right? And I'd have to assume that's where he's thinking of going, because all of his little hunches and assumptions of the world and the galaxy and the stars and all kinds of stuff like that always end up being right.
Yeah. Time will tell. I say nothing.
I hate doing this with you. I hate this. I will not.
No, but I think that's what makes this show fun for people who've read the book, is they've introduced just enough out there to let me know that while the overall themes may be the same, I hope they kind of change the ending. I hope they take it in a different, or I hope they take me on a really different route that doesn't lose sight of what made the book so great to get me there. And I think that's what's so unique about TV adaptations. People complain so much like, oh, they made this change from the book, they made that change from the book. Man, make changes from the book. I think that's okay. Give us something new. The most powerful adaptations, I think, are because they capture the spirit but do it in a different way. And I think Silo will do that. I think they're kind of already doing that. It's not too much deviation. There's certainly major changes, but in the grand scheme, I think the spirit of the books is still there. And so I'm really excited, man. I know that like we sound all, maybe it's because I worked a night shift last night. I'm sounding like, wow, this show's kind of really boring and tiring, and but I think there's a lot of good stuff there. I just, like you said, man, take me somewhere. Don't drag me along.
I think that's the big thing too, especially for book adaptations, is you want to answer the question, why did we make this adaptation? Most of the time it's just the money grab, right? It's like, oh, well, we know
it's all money.
We know it's a good story and it'll make a good show or a good movie, right? But then I think of something like the new Harry Potter series that's coming out, and I'm saying, okay, well, there's so many ways that I love the movies. Like, I adore the movies, but there's so many ways now that I'm reading the books where they can improve upon those movies with shows that'll give them the time. And that's what makes me wonder is, okay, like you said, can they get us to the same ending, but do it in a better way? Can they get us to that same ending, but make it the ending even a little bit better and improve upon it, right? So like those are the things right now. And that's why I get antsy as a viewer, where I say, okay, it does feel like we waste a little bit of time on certain things. And if we are going to take this much time to get to where we're going, I think we need to be more efficient with our time and hit a little heavier on the themes we want to. And that's where I feel like maybe we've missed it here. But I do feel, and this is me looking, glass half full now, is I do feel we are on that precipice here. I do feel like with Lucas Kyle returning, the levees have broken. We are back into, we're done asking questions. We're about to be getting answers. And I wish I had said that earlier in the show, because people totally clicked away or gave us thumbs down at this point. But I do feel like that's where we're getting to now, where it's like, okay, let's just hit the gas for the next, whatever it is, 5 or 6 episodes. And it's just going to be all answers, all action. Let's progress this thing.
Yeah, man, I could not be more excited if that's what happens. Brandon Sanderson book fans know about, like, they call it the Sanderlanche, where like his like latter third of a book sometimes is just straight nonstop, like pedal to the metal, whatever all like, it's just go breakneck speed.
Yeah.
I wish they would do that to like close this out. We're 3 out of 8 episodes in. I think 4 to 5 episodes of just like flying through all sorts of stuff would be really, really great for the show.
The thing is like, I know that every time you speak, you are speaking earnestly, but I hate that how the books go, because it feels like every time you're saying something, there's just like a drip of just a little bit of sarcasm. Like, already what's going to happen. Like you already know what's going to happen in episode 4.
Not quite, to tell you the truth. I do think that folks who read the books probably have a lot of good ideas, but again, like Camille's like just not really a thing in the book. So who knows? And now she's so prominent. She's about to make a potentially silo-altering decision, right? She, who knows what she's going to decide? I truly don't know, to tell you the truth. So I'm really not. And again, unlike Jagger, who read the books recently, I think Jagger watched the show and then started reading the books. You have to remember, I read all 3 of them and some novellas in like a 2-week span more than a decade ago, to the point where a lot of the details are sort of coming back to me as I'm watching this show. I'm like, oh yeah, this happened, and I completely forgot about it. And so I don't know. I'm actually kind of intrigued. I remember the overall ending and remember a few things here and there, but there's enough going on here where I think there's a lot of potential for them to do what you said, which is really bring it together in a different way, make it an adaptation and not just like a faithful, retelling word for word what happens.
You read multiple books in 2 weeks. I am finishing one audiobook after a month of listening. It's great. We are not the same. Guys, that's going to do it for us, man. This has been Silo Season 3, Episode 3. Thank you for joining us here on Unbinged. As always, I want to thank you all for watching or listening all the way through. We'll be back again next week. For myself, for Vig, we'll see you next time. Adios.